Oh yeah, sexy biscuits. Nice.
Long Boys 1975. A YouTuber's on the rise. Reviewing games late at night and sometimes friends. But Long Boys 1975.
Hey YouTube, Longboys Post 1975, and this really is something a little bit different, and it's certainly, even by my standards, going to be a little bit ghetto in the way I've shot this. But anyone who knows me or has watched my channel for any period of years will know that I absolutely love American comic books. Absolutely love them. Grew up on them. Well, not initially grew up on them. My first foray into comics was the Beano, then 2000 AD, but around about 1987, 1988, thanks to the fact that these comics would show up in some newsagents over here, being imported, and specifically independent high street comic book stores such as Forever People, which is literally where I spent every Saturday from the late 80s right up till, I don't know when it closed. It sadly closed. It wasn't that it wasn't successful, it's that the owner's wife got a new job and she was properly minted, and he said he didn't really need to run it anymore. At that point it was just a thing of passion, but it was a fantastic comic book store on Park Street back in the day, where the front window was just full of all this amazing pop culture, comic book culture, movies, things like that. And then you would go in and then there would be 2 levels of comics, and then the attic, where you get really old attic. It was the top story, really old back issues, and I bought a ton of back issues there. That's why I pieced together my Frank Miller limited 4-issue limited Wolverine mini-series, and pieced together, mainly thanks to this place, my Amazing Spider-Man Todd McFarlane run. I'm probably going to repeat a bunch of stuff throughout this video, so I do apologise for that. But that was pretty much, especially in the late 80s, where I fell in love with comic books. Now, obviously, grew up with the ZX Spectrum in the early 80s, right up to the 90s, and I obviously, had a Master System, imported a Mega Drive, imported a Super Famicom. But the NES was really not that big in this country. It really wasn't compared to the Master System. It was like the opposite effect was, going on here with the Master System and the NES. The NES got his ass kicked by it. But I was aware of it thanks to Mean Machine and Mean Machines and CVG, or when CVG literally had Mean Machines in it, then it became its spin-off magazine. I was aware, because it was a player, don't get me wrong, it just got his ass kicked by the Master System. It was like a alternative 1985 thing from Back to the Future, but going on with the Master System and the NES. But I have so much nostalgia and so much memory of all the adverts for video games I saw, for console games basically. Obviously we would have magazines over here. Video games never made it into sort of comics over here, apart from Eagle, where there was a strip that was based on, what was called Computer Warrior, and he would go into different video games by US Gold. But yeah, adverts itself never really made it in there. Maybe Spectrum games, maybe system adverts for like GX4000, things like that, but not to the extent of what you saw NES games. And so my introduction to many a NES game cover, and even the library, the people who made games for it and things like that, was thanks to a whole bunch. And I literally just opened up, I got like 17 long boxes. I've got more than that. They're the ones I could find. And I literally just opened up one, shoved my hand in, and got a bunch of comics, and hoped that would be enough. I don't think I actually showed that in the video. Have a look at it now. Yeah, stuff like this, peripherals, insane peripherals, the ones that clearly don't work, but as a child you didn't know that. I might do some more of these. I might specifically sit down for an afternoon and just go for the long boxes to find all the ones that I really genuinely want to talk about. There are some I do really genuinely want to talk about in this series, of comics that I have. But yeah, so I grabbed loads because, yeah, so again, these things like peripherals, specifically mostly Capcom games as well. Peripherals, Capcom games, stores that sold them and things like that. there was one I was looking for that I could not find, and I can't even remember the name of the store, but it was for the launch of the Genesis. On the left side of the page, it had the Genesis, it had the launch titles, and this is pretty much where I first found out that it was called the Genesis. I had a Mega Drive at that point, but I'm like, why is it called a Genesis? What the hell? And then on the right, you had Super Mario Brothers 3, because it was a launch, and it showed you that even though, you know, the 16-bit era had kicked in North America, you know, stuff like Super Mario Brothers 3 was still going to be a massive thing and a big hitter and keep that system alive for, you know, very much longer amount of time. Can't remember what store that is. And also, sometimes I remember stores, they might have even been, their names might have even been made up in these comic books, such as, was KB's a real place? Unless they actually put it in a, I remember it was an Eric Larson Amazing Spider. It was when he lost his, or he gave up his powers. And it was Eric Larson, Amazing Spider-Man, after Tom McFarlane drew it. But yeah, so God knows what this store was, but it was saying, look, we've got the Genesis, the launch of the Genesis. And also, Super Mario Brothers 3 is out. I have no idea why I'm doing this. But the point is, I have so much nostalgia, so much, you know, so many memories attached to what I saw in US comic books, and it was like this window into a whole other world, which until we went there on holiday in 1991 it was, and it took you going to a place to realise that, because you saw it on the movies and then on TV and stuff like that, and it was just like, America's this unbelievable place, and it wasn't until you go there you realise they're just like us. Their geography's different. But yeah, so it was it was something else that was cool about these things, because even though I love comics, again, it was showing me all these things, many of which would never come up or come out in this country, and other things, such as a ton of those peripherals never ever came out over here, a ton of those games never ever came out over here. But it also showed me how absolutely massive the Nintendo Entertainment System was. See, I can say it, the Nintendo Entertainment System. The NES was in North America. So what I've done is, I've got my camera stand out, got my camcorder out, I've actually masked off a piece on the floor. I'll explain this a bit more when I do that bit. So hopefully, because the thing is, I could scan these, and you can find digital versions of them everywhere if you Google images it and stuff like that. I could do that, but physically holding something, and newsprint, and the fact that just smelling these, that musky old scent that a 30 to 40-year-old comic book has, even though it's in pretty banging nick, that's a time capsule within itself. So hopefully these will come out, and I wanted to do it as this hands-on thing of just going through, because I've marked a bunch of adverts with strips of paper. I'm shooting this video in reverse because it got corrupted the first time I did it. So I've already done that bit, and we're doing this bit secondary. But yeah, I marked out a bunch of the adverts that in each one of these that I wanted to show you. So let's go and have a look now. Okay, so you'll have to excuse this. I'm basically doing as cheap as chips back to basics, but the masking tape is just for me to keep in shot of the camera. So hopefully this is going to come out all right. But basically the majority of these are like 1989, 1990, and as I said at the start of this video, I've got so many long boxes, and so I just grabbed a handful literally out of the first one in the hope that I could find some of the video game adverts that I remember so much, so well, such a strong part of my nostalgic memory. And it's funny that they were in, I mean, obviously these American comics were very widely available over here, but having said that, though, at this point, still, you pretty much had to go into, I say widely available, you had to go into, you know, comic shops, independent comic shops and stuff like that. But obviously, most of these are going to be Spectacular Spider-Man. But also, I put yellow, in case you're wondering why, I put yellow pieces of paper for the adverts, because yes, I know that's an advert on the left, but I've marked it out in another book. But yeah, so I've marked a few of them, and ones that I remember really rather quite well, such as this, the double spread advert for Splatterhouse on the TurboGrafx 16. And it's funny because we all talk about now, in hindsight's a wonderful thing, we know how like the marketing for this system really wasn't that good and stuff, and to some degree the types of games, I mean, look at the size of the library of games, particularly shoot 'em ups, I'm not saying shmup, I hate that phrase, that they could have released in North America for this system, and ones that they left out. Obviously Splatterhouse was heavily censored, hence this stupid red mark. Well, that wasn't censorship, that's so they didn't get sued by, obviously, is it Universal? Who owns Friday the 13th? I can't remember. But yeah, I remember this advert. So it obviously made it into the press. I mean, it made it into comic books. And also, what's funny is in all the magazines back home, we all lusted and drooled over the holy grail that was the PC Engine. But I don't think any of them actually said, hey, the PC Engine's just made it to... obviously, the PC Engine was 2 years prior to when this came out in North America. But yeah, no one actually said, hey, the PC Engine's made it to North America. Only they've called it the TurboGrafx 16. So it kind of been cheap to take out a 2-page spread. And obviously, this is 1990, so... it's not that long after the launch of the system, so they were spending some money, you could say, some money on promoting it in the mainstream media. But I remember this advert, yeah, and so obviously I worked it out that it was the PC Engine. But yeah, I have very, very strong memories for this advert, and just thought it was cool that they got a 2-page comic strip spread, in a comic. That phrase got away from me. This, wow, look at this. Now, so I remember that coming out, and in 1990 was Back to the Future already. I mean, obviously loads of these games, but not specifically these ports or these versions. Games made it onto the Spectrum and stuff like that. But this, back in the day before, we know it's crap thanks to the various people on YouTube and stuff like that. My brain was just like, wait, why do you get 2 games on 1 cartridge? And being a massive Back to the Future fan, even then, I was like, I'm not going to lie, I was basically jealous. Obviously, hindsight is a wonderful thing, and we know how bad it is. So I'm just going to go through all these in order. I've marked, I shouldn't have any duplicates. Hopefully I won't have any duplicates. And obviously, whenever adverts on the back, then I will start the comic on the back. But this is an interesting one. Mario and Princess, bubble baths and shampoos. Now obviously the NES was nowhere near as popular in this country as it was in North America, and when it did finally become popular and break through after the botched Mattel launch of it, it was thanks to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So I can see why we never would have got this, because Mario was never anywhere near as popular in the United Kingdom as a character, pop icon, if you will, as he was in North America. But yeah, this is the funny thing. These comics range from having loads of adverts, pretty much all of them in Nintendo, to one. Weird. Right, so, again, Spectacular Spider-Man. Double zap your zits and shit. So yeah, but I can remember this, and I mean, at some point, some of these games I had read reviews of, in Mean Machines and Complete Guide to Consoles, but lots of them never even made it to the United Kingdom. And also, obviously, there were ports on the systems that we had and stuff like that, the Spectrum, but everyone knew Bubble Bobble. I love Bubble Bobble in the arcades, and I used to buy a bunch of these comics when we were on holiday in Westford Ho, because there was a newsagent there. They got a load of them. So yeah, and there's just something so nostalgic about newsprint adverts for NES games. I mean, like I said, I never had a NES as a kid growing up, but these adverts are such a massive part of my childhood. So there's another one, so we're 2 for 2. Potato. Yeah, Operation Wolf. I remember looking at this and going, wow, Operation Wolf's on the NES, makes sense, it's got a light gun. But I wasn't a massive fan of these ones with all the text down the outside, but I do remember thinking, I don't know if that's like the original arcade artwork, I love the Bob Wakeland artwork instead on the Spectrum. I thought it was so much better than this, and also, why are there 2 blokes? That's the wrong game. But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's absolutely fantastic art, and it's something that I always think of when someone mentions, NES Operation Wolf for me. Here's a cool one. Sears catalogue. Video games just got easier to order. Called 24 hours, toll free. Does that mean that someone actually manned this for 24 hours then? Because you're ordering video games. And yeah, basically it's a list of games that you can order. So we're 1990 now, which means that is Sears still a thing? The light gun pack, the Zapper pack, was only $100. But obviously we're in TurboGrafx and Mega Drive territory now, aren't we? By the way, Sal Buscema, one of my favourite artists of all time. May he rest in peace. Where's this last one? Where's the bird this feather came from? I know there are other cool adverts in here. This is a role-play game that you can call by phone. But this isn't about that. This is about video game adverts. He says, and here's one for breakfast cereal. Introducing a winning combination for breakfast. Rouse to Nintendo's cereal system. We rescue breakfast. This tastes super. Look how much sugar there must be in that. Obviously, we never would have got. Well, we never even. Well, you guess you could say video games were popular over. Look at the Master System and stuff like that. But we never got breakfast cereals based on any video game characters. I know these two characters are huge and iconic, and I remember this advert loads, but we never ever got, you know, breakfast cereal based on, I mean, we only ever got it based on toys like round about Return of the Jedi and stuff like that. Yeah, so I guess a breakfast cereal market in the US, and breakfast cereal, I remember that even though it's not video games, that was on the back of so many comics. Schwinn. Yeah, breakfast cereal markets were vastly different between the US and the UK. This appeared in so many of the comics I had, or on the back. Double Dragon 2 The Revenge. I do know of this. I remember seeing reviews for this in CVG and Mean Machines, but I do remember first seeing the advert for it, you know, in all these comics. Claim, yeah, we all know how they have played out most of the time, but I just remember thinking this box art was absolutely fantastic and superb because of how bad the original box art was on, well, the 8-bits in this country shared the exact same box, and the 16-bits shared the same box art as Double Dragon did in North America. You know, those two blokes, and they tried to, you know, face to face, holding their arms up, one that got a knife or something like that, trying to show how incredibly muscular they were, you know, badass martial artists, but it just looked like they both had a massive set of finger wings going on. And then this only has one other advert in it, and that would be for, hopefully the glare's not too bad, Sky Shark, which even I was like, hang on, shouldn't you be called Flying Shark? But then that's dependent upon, you know, which market, and I'm talking about the arcades here, which market you got to experience, you know, the arcade gaming. So in Westford Ho it was always Flying Shark, as were the games on the micros, but I think, is that because Europe, Australasia and Japan sometimes were like branched into the same market when it came to the naming conventions. I can immediately remember this story as well. Like I said, I've got so many long boxes of comics. There are adverts that I've mentioned at the start of this video that I would love to find, but I literally just grabbed a handful because if I sat there and went through every one, then literally I'd still be there now. And it's a week and a half later. Now this one I have to be really careful with because there's only one advert I want to show you, but it's in Amazing Spider-Man 328, which, am I right in thinking this is the last issue Todd McFarlane drew of it? Todd McFarlane is my favourite Spider-Man artist of all time, and I did this in the 90s. It took me a while, but I managed to piece together every single issue of Amazing Spider-Man that he had. Anyway, that was a mind blower. Like, this is when I kind of, like I mentioned earlier on, pieced together, worked out that the TurboGrafx 16 is what the PC Engine was. But even as a kid, I looked at that and thought, you know, the difference between the new TurboGrafx 16 and the video game system is all in your head. And then it's like, you know, the Tood and the 90s attitude and shit like this. But as a kid, even as a kid, I looked at that and thought, wow, that's the best you can do. I look at that, I don't even know what the console looks like. I know it to some degree now that it doesn't look like the PC Engine, which was another massive mistake. But looking at it, you don't know what the console's like, you don't know what the library's like. You just got this stupid Tood thing, which I guess, you know, well, no, this came out before the Mega Drive, so you can't say the whole, you know, Genesis does what Nintendo don't. But yeah, that is a perfect textbook example of Sony designing that advert who knows fuck all about the market, fuck all about video games, and fuck all about what kids want. I mean, it's iconic now, to me at least, in a nostalgic way, because I remember it. But yeah, there you go. This is where you failed, not communicating your to your market properly. Here's one. This is You Make the Rules. I actually have a Game Genie now for the NES, but yeah, Gloob Game Genie. Was it? Oh, am I confusing that with something by Codemasters? I don't know. That's the only advert in this. In fact, the only advert in this, X-Force. Look, there's my name. This is when we used to get it from a British news agent. And yeah, what artist is that? Oh yeah, that dude. Because he's like, he was better at doing fucking Liefeld than Liefeld, because he basically looked like Liefeld. However, he could draw feet and hands and guns, and his guns had handles and triggers. But this isn't about that. Here you go, this is what I meant about some of these having loads and some of them having none. Right, so, impossible mission. Hopefully, these aren't too glary, but I had to do it in direct light of the window. Is that Emilio Estevez? It's not, but you know what I mean. So Mission Impossible Ultra was obviously was that Konami's company, so they could get around the whole, you know, you're only allowed to release this many games a year because of, well, it's not, there you go, the Nintendo seal of quality. Big fan of the show as a kid. Another one of those things which is, this never got a release in the United Kingdom, so even though at this point this was more advertising for the NES that I'd ever seen in my life, compared to any of all the UK magazines banged together, because mainly it was reviews in there, but and a few adverts. But yeah, these comic books were where I saw so many adverts of games that would never ever come out. There we go. Never before has a force of one been so powerful. It's funny because we all chuckled about this as kids. I don't think this is an arcade conversion. Is this an original product for, an IP for the NES? But it's Taito, because yeah, Black Manta and a product available in the UK, shall we say, very niche products. Designed purely for one thing, that also had 5 letters and began with M, and so yeah, we all chuckled about it. But yeah, I can't remember if this got good reviews. I know this did get a release. I'm pretty sure I want to say it got released in the United Kingdom. But yeah, here we go. Oh, I remember this as well because I knew that Bonks was PC Gented or PC Kid. So again, the TurboGrafx, forget what I just said about how bad that advert was on the back of Amazing Spider-Man, because it was pretty fucking bad. Then you get this. So they did clearly spend some money, because it can't have been cheap even back then to do a 2-page spread, as I said with the, you know, the Splatterhouse one. But yeah, this is a brilliant advert. I love this. I remember this so strongly back in the day, and I knew that it was a good game. Just didn't like the fact that it was called Bonk. And then, oh, who remembers that? 5 books for a quid, 5 tapes for, you know, a penny or whatever. Dragon slaying, Game Boy action, web slinging, Dragons in Danger, Spidey action. Didn't really like these 2-page, you know, mashups and stuff like that. Rather have a big ass picture of a game by itself and a lot more information explaining it and stuff like that. But, you know, because this looks like a kid's advert. I know it is a kid's advert, you know what I mean? Like, it was designed by a kid. But, remember seeing this one, an absolute shit ton. And then the last one is, They Stole Your Mind, Now Get It Back. Total Recall, loved the movie, absolutely loved the movie. The game on the micro was pretty pants. And that was the other thing. We knew that even though Ocean were making games for the NES and stuff like that, we knew that a whole bunch of these games based on movies that we loved and had brilliant ports on the Spectrum, you know, such as Robocop and Batman. We knew that these would be totally different versions, you know, and so we longed to, well, I longed to play it, even though I knew that half these games won't come out, and my mate Samuel had an NES. He only had like 3 games. But then also what we didn't know was, true story, in many cases the micros and specifically the Spectrum versions were way better. But oh, that seal, yeah, you didn't really stand for anything, did you? Only a couple left. Web of Spider-Man. Can't remember when this is a guest artist, and this art in this is absolutely terrible. There we go. Go head-to-head wireless. Well, did anyone have them? My understanding was these things were just, although it might be based on AVGN and stuff like that, but just the tech. Because this would have been standard infrared technology, wouldn't it? Like your TV remotes, and therefore it would have been fucking awful. I do remember for years, for some reason, I thought that was Kevin's older brother from the Wonder Years, but I do remember this advert. Loads and absolute loads. And the concept of a wireless controller back then was just like, future! There we go. I don't even know to this day if this game is any good. Street Fighter 2010. It's a Capcom game. I'm pretty sure it's not canon Street Fighter. But I do remember, because we are prior to Street Fighter 2, I do remember in the original Street Fighter, and obviously that didn't get an NES port. So I was like, is this the sequel? Obviously, again, but this is before Street Fighter 2, which was a sequel. It was like, actually genuinely thought, it's now that I know it's not canon, but yeah, I actually genuinely thought that this was the sequel. There you go, once again, Mario Princess, bubble baths and shampoos. Mum, why is there a middle-aged Italian plumber sat next to me while I'm bathing butt naked? Because that's not creepy, is it? If you want to see some more adverts other than the video game ones, let me know, because again, I've got so many. This I remember absolutely loads. This was a mail-in competition where you could, what was it, win a radical trip to Dracula's hometown. And yeah, so see, this is why I would never, well, I couldn't because it was a North American competition, but I would never, ever cut out the back there. I wouldn't even cut it out if it was on the inside. But doing that just sacrilege. But anyway, so it's an advert for Dracula's Curse, Castlevania 3. Screenshots, a little splurge of the game there. Again, kid shitting his pants. I do remember these these comic adverts. This specific one, sorry, I saw it loads and loads and loads and loads. So this is what I mean. I have managed to get a bunch of the ones that I really, really strongly remember. And then there's a mail-in competition. So why not advertise the game? And so I can't read it from here because I'm underneath a tripod. I know. State of the art me, but surely you're not going to give someone a chance to win a massive competition without any mail-in proof of purchase or something. Or maybe there was. Let me know, because otherwise you're giving a whole bunch of people who may not even like Nintendo or own it, but just fancy, you know, going to Transylvania, chance to win a competition. Again, we go from massive amounts of adverts to I remember this one massively because my brother had this in 1990 as well. It's an absolutely fantastic game, Gargoyle's Quest. Graphics so real you'll forget it's only a game on a Game Boy. Okie dokie. But yeah, I mean, this game was fantastic and the graphics were really, really, really good on it, to be fair. But yeah, another perfect example of a game that before it was even reviewed in the United Kingdom, my memories were of this advert. So probably, again, lots of these never even got adverts in UK gaming magazines. Here's the last one. Now this is not as bad a game as everyone says it is, but the box art to me will always be iconic. However, it's the advert I prefer it. I prefer it because it's got this wall effect behind it, and it's Machine Gun 6 tough street levels, or 6 street tough levels, super arcade action, the NES game, he who lives wins. Well, yeah, okay, that's a bit obvious. M16s, rocket launchers. But yeah, I like this game. I've got a gameplay of it from years ago. I really like this game. It gets absolutely slated. But then I also really like The Punisher. And round about this time was the Dolph Lundgren movie, which I also really liked as well. So, yeah. Chill or be chilled, ski or die. I remember the obsession with skateboard games, and I remember Skate or Die because that made it onto the 8-bit micros in this country as well. But you're really at a stretch at this point, aren't you? So no, it's Ultra. Sorry, Ultra again. So that's Konami. I didn't know if this game was any good, but then if it's Ultra and it's Konami, it should be. But completely forgot about that because that is awful. It reminds me of a Glacier's Strong Mint advert. This is another one I do remember, the Mega Man 3. I like these Capcom ones like this, actually. When I say I prefer it to be full box and full page and stuff like that, I did like these ones when you saw the cartridge box and stuff like that. Mega Man 3, anything else you need to know? Again, I don't honestly know. If you had a NES in this country, because the library was so much smaller, then let me know if Mega Man 3 made it out. But yeah, I do remember this. Snake Man. Hard Man, awkward, Gemini Man, Magnet Man, Needle Man. Yeah, if you're Needle Man, you probably don't want to stand next to Hard Man in the shower. Shallow Man, Spark Man, and Top Man. They're the 8 new robot masters in Mega Man 3. Defeat them all, and you'll still have Dr. Wiley to deal with. I never grew up playing Mega Man, but I do remember all the adverts. Oh, look. Namor and how wrong Wakanda Forever got you. There you go, I've aged this. Yeah, what is this? Is this like a real-time strategy game? I can't even read that from here, and it's funny because I did read it just now to work out what it was. But yeah, if anyone remembers this, was this like a real-time strategy game? It doesn't look like an arcade game. And this was the only, game I saw advertised in such a manner where it suggested it was something a bit more above and beyond than your standard, arcade game. Oh, that's intense. 12 levels of play. Riding an awesome wave of 3 mega firepower. Yeah, bigging up 3 mega firepower is not necessarily a way to promote your game. Also, the game is so fucking hard. Synonymous with hard, thanks to Angry Video Game Nerd. Although I actually have a US copy of this game I was very kindly sent. And I have a gameplay of it, and it's famous and it's the stuff of legend for all the wrong reasons. In fact, I go as far as to say it's infamous, not famous. What's the last advert? Oh, this full colour. You need a U there, kids. Just saying. buying guide, video games and computer entertainment, complete guide to Nintendo video games. Butting, pow pow. See, shit like this never got advertised in UK stuff. It makes me realise that these adverts had far more crossover into the mainstream, or video game adverts, yeah, such a more of a part of mainstream than they were in this country. They were the preserve, game adverts were the preserve of video game magazines, not comics. So yeah, just a bit of fun. I hope you enjoyed that. Let's round up. So hopefully that was as much fun and nostalgic for you as it was for me. That was an absolute blast. Honestly, like I said at the start of this video, I have so many memories, and that was just a few that I found by just grabbing a handful of comics from one long box. As I mentioned at the start of this video, I have ones in my mind that I really wanted to find, such as that Genesis launch and Super Mario Bros. 3 double spread advert. But things as well in this that completely forgot that, you know, even though I mentioned it and touched upon it, that the TurboGrafx 16 launch was absolutely botched in North America, but completely forgot that they had double spread adverts in comics. They had double spread adverts in comics. I don't know if that was something that they did initially to try and sell more, or maybe they were clutching at straws at that point. So also apologies if that was a bit too ghetto for you, but like I said, I wanted this to be hands-on, and I like stuff like that. Let me know if you want me to do some more of these, because as I did mention, I'm going to sit down for an afternoon one day and go through as many of these comic book long boxes that I've got to see if I can find some more of the ones that I really, you know, have strong memories of and want to talk about in a little bit more detail. This was just trying something new and a little bit different out, because I've never really done magazines. A lot of people do them, I know that, but I wanted to do something a little bit different, which was the fact that video games in comic books from the 80s and 90s. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you want to see some more of these, and let me know if, particularly if you were from this country and you bought a lot of these American comic books, whether it was from places like Forbidden Planet, Forever People, or you know, you were lucky enough to have a newsagent that did get American comics, and you remember these adverts, and you remember the fact that so much was shown in these comic books that we never got in this country. Any oh, I'm all over the shop, I apologise. Anyway, as always, I'd love to know what you think. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you later.